Let's lead our panel discussion off with this today. We're joined by Matt Thistlethwaite and the Liberal Senator Holly Hughes. Again, good morning to you both. We've got an assassination attempt on Donald Trump. We will start there today. I'll just start with you, Matt. Can I ask you what you make of this, just the state of things right now in America?
Well, it's a shocking development. Obviously, our concern is for the safety of former President Trump and anyone else that was with him. And thankfully, it appears that no one has been injured or harmed. That's the foremost concern that we obviously have. But secondly, there is a lot of tension in the United States at the moment associated with the upcoming presidential election. And in democracies, we make these decisions through the ballot box, not through the use of violence and intimidation. And this is a shocking development. Thankfully, the alleged perpetrator has been apprehended, and the FBI are continuing their investigations.
All right, we've got Kamala Harris, who's just tweeted moments ago now, "I've been briefed on reports of gunshots fired near former President Trump and his property in Florida. I am glad he is safe. Violence has no place in America." Holly Hughes, your thoughts on these developments over the past hour or two?
Oh, I'd just like to echo what Matt said with regards to the safety of President Trump, as well as the Secret Service and anyone else that was on the golf course. But I mean, this is where we see the power of words can impact how society behaves. And we've seen such just reckless rhetoric coming from the Democrats referring to President Trump as Hitler, as a danger to democracy. And it's always, it'll be interesting to see. After the first assassination attempt, we did see that rhetoric toned down, and of course it's dialed back up again, whether or not there will be a shift, because as Matt says, there's a lot of tension over there at the moment, and that's got to be in some way attempted to be taken out of it. And some of this rhetoric that's being used, people that are unstable or people that have very extreme views, can see this as taking it into their own hands. And that's a very, very dangerous state of affairs.
Okay, a couple of minutes left just to talk about a couple of local issues. And Holly, I'll stay with you here because you've got some polling that's very much in your favour this morning. In fact, it has you forming a minority government next time around. Have you got some pep in your step this morning over this?
I've always got pep in my step when I come to Canberra and walk to Parliament House at 7:30 in the morning to see you. There's no reason I wouldn't have pep in my step at any time. But look, polls come and go. We're seeing them. I really would think that they're staying, if you look at what's happening up and down, pretty stable. I think people do need to be aware that minority government is something that's real and something that could be very, very bad for our country. But obviously the local government elections in New South Wales showed not great results for Labor in a lot of its heartland. Clearly, we didn't have what would have been a great representation with so many Liberals missing from ballot papers. But in areas where Liberals were on the ballot paper, like in the federal seats of Parramatta and Bennelong, the cricket bats were sort of getting warmed up.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts on all of that then, Matt, this morning?
I think it's a tough time for Australians at the moment, and we appreciate that and we know that, but we're doing our best to try and help them get through this difficult period with cost of living pressure. But at the same time, trying to make sure that we don't fuel further inflation. So all of our measures have been aimed at ensuring that we're very targeted, the energy bill relief, cheaper medicines, cheaper childcare, real wage increases for some workers who are pretty crucial in our economy. All of that's very, very targeted and aimed at ensuring that we're not pouring more fuel on the fire of inflation.
I mean, but looking at these polls, Matt, to jump in there, I mean, what you're offering up, the people aren't buying. And just before we go, I do want to get you on something that happened last week, because I've spent the weekend thinking about this story, the fact that you both want to increase costs for self-funded retirees who've spent their whole lives working hard and paying their fair share of taxes. So, Matt, I'll go back to you. Why make it harder?
These are Labor's reforms.
Yeah, well, I'll go back to
These
Matt.
are Labor's reforms. They were not co-designed.
Right, yeah, but you're supporting them.
We want to get them out in the open.
Okay, let me just finish the question here to you, Matt. Why make it harder when things should be getting easier for self-funded retirees?
we've got an ageing population. More of us are going to rely on aged care services into the future. And aged care providers aren't building new facilities and new beds at the moment because the system's not sustainable. So we needed to do something. We're making the system more sustainable but fairer at the same time because the government is putting in the majority of the funding here. 73% of the funding will come from the government for residential services and 89% of the funding will come from government for in-home care. We want to support people to stay in their homes for as long as possible to avoid residential care. But when they need that residential care, they should get the best care that they deserve.
Right.
That's why we're putting nurses back into aged care facilities. That's why we're increasing the quality of the food.
But why go after the self-fund
face-to-face
retirees
time.
is my point. I'll just have to, just for time issues, I mean, and the fact that you negotiated this as well, Holly, I mean, was there another way? And could this well lead to NDIS-style rorts down the track?
Well, this was not a co-designed package of reforms. This is something that Labor's put together. When she was finally brought in, Senator Ruston has negotiated a number of issues around making sure that these are grandfathered, that government will remain the majority funder, and that there will be lifetime caps, all of which were not necessarily part of Labor's first suggested reforms. And Senator Ruston's also worked really hard to make sure that those in rural and regional areas are supported, which are so often forgotten. But
was there another way, though?
Retirees are Labor's way to just whack them around.
But that's what you're doing by supporting it.
Well, we are trying to get them out in the open. If there does need to be reform, and let me tell you, you don't want the Greens in there trying to negotiate some of these things. We can't always just sit back. It may not be perfect, but there does need to be some reform, and Senator Ruston's done a lot of work to make sure that the impact is minimal, but that the sector will remain sustainable.
All right, we're out of time. But Matt and Holly, good to have you with us as always. Thank you. We'll talk to you again soon.